Hello, my name's Stuart. I'm here to talk to you about my job in healthcare. I'm a pharmacist. In fact, I'm the Chief Pharmacist at Moorfields Eye Hospital. It won't surprise you to know that that means that we look after people who've got very serious problems with their eyes, which means they have to come into hospital. I'm going to talk to you a little bit about pharmacy as a career, what it is you need to study to become a pharmacist, and a little bit about my job. So what do pharmacists do? We would consider ourselves to be the experts in medicines, so the medicines that we give to people to make them better if they're ill. This is quite an important job because there are about thousands and thousands of medicines that could be used, and effectively what we're talking about is putting chemicals into people's body. And obviously chemicals can be dangerous if they're not used correctly. So we do a lot of advising on the correct medicines that people should be having for their medical condition. So we talk a lot to doctors and nurses about the correct drugs to use, doses to give, and how to give medicines safely. The other part of the job is helping people to get the best value from their medicines. And so the big challenge for us sometimes is to be able to talk to people like doctors and nurses in a scientific way, but also to talk to patients about the same issues in a way that they will understand because they aren't scientifically trained. And I think that's the real joy that I get from my job, is being able to talk about the same things in two different ways. So as I said, we are effectively scientists, and that's the kind of topics that we would study to become a pharmacist, especially the science of chemistry and maybe biology. But English is also another good one to get into because communicating well is something that's very important to my job. So you would probably do those kind of topics up to A level at school, and then in order to become a pharmacist, you would then have to go to university, and university courses normally last about 4 years. After you've finished at university, then you would have to do a year of work experience to become fully qualified as a pharmacist. So after school, it takes about 5 years to be qualified to practice as a pharmacist. And pharmacists work in lots of different situations. So the ones that you might know already are the ones who work in pharmacies in the high street and in shopping centres, and they're called community pharmacists. But my career, I've always worked in hospitals, and so I've worked in big hospitals. I've worked in the hospital that I'm in at the minute, which specifically looks at eyes, as I said. Some pharmacists also will go and work in the pharmaceutical industry with the big pharmacy companies, mainly doing things like research and trying to develop new medicines to treat existing medical conditions, and that's an ongoing thing that we have to develop as an ongoing basis, because we always have things that can be better to treat medical conditions better, especially things like cancer, which still we don't have 100% cure rates for. So that's how to become a pharmacist and what kind of areas that pharmacy will work in. For me now, because I'm head of a department, I get a little bit less involved with looking after patients specifically and more of what's called the clinical side, and have become more of a manager. So I manage a department at the moment of about 50 people. In my last job, I managed about 350 people. And so being able to manage people and being able to enthuse them for their jobs, and be able to develop them and give them opportunities to become better at what they do is something that's very important to me. I also get involved in managing our department budgets and advising about what kind of pharmacy services we should offer people. So what do I enjoy most about what I do? I do enjoy talking to people. I think being able to understand, or probably in the same way that I'm doing here, make people understand why pharmacy is important to the working of our hospitals. And also the other thing I enjoy about my job is talking to patients and helping them to get the most from their medicines. The hardest part about the job is probably something similar, which is that sometimes people don't understand what you're trying to say, and then you have to find other ways to make yourself understood. But I think that's more of a challenge rather than something that's very hard. I think our job is very important because nearly every person who's got an illness will usually be prescribed a medicine. So quite a large amount of people in the country will be taking some sort of medical treatment or medicines. So actually the impact of what we do is quite widespread, and that's why I think pharmacy is so important. I've also been asked to tell you what I think the most magical part of my job is. I think it's being able to talk to young developing pharmacists and pharmacy technicians, being able to help them with their career and become better at what they do. I always think that's a very important part of what I do as a senior person, is to be able to talk to staff and be able to help them to work out what they think their career should be and help them to get there. So I think that's pretty much all I was going to talk to you about today. I wish you very well in all your studies, and hopefully you may consider doing pharmacy at some point in the future. Bye-bye.